Hello, everyone. While we're waiting for everyone to join us today on the Art of Inspired Selling, I'm pretty close to the screen today. I want to say hi to everybody. It's Wednesday. Today, I'm coming to you live from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. As you probably know, my goal is to be a complete digital nomad once my children are out of the nest. But I do practice that by traveling whenever I can and staying abroad whenever I can. And it just so happens that Samantha Burmeister, who's coming on today, is also a digital nomad. She calls herself nomad. She skips the word digital. You know what digital means already. We can just be we're location independent to sound a little more proper. But we're coming to you live today, The Art of Inspired Selling. As you know, I'm the host, Catherine Nunez, and I interview people in the B2B space who can bring information to you in a long show format so that you, the entrepreneur, the sales professional, can pick up something and move the needle forward in your business. And today we're going to talk about copywriting. And copywriting is misunderstood, in my opinion. Copywriting is an art form. Being able to lead somebody down a buyer's journey where there's micro conversions every step of the way is a talent. And Samantha is going to demystify for us all those different things and all those words that marketers throw out. Landing page, squeeze page, sales page, thank you page. And she's going to talk a lot about all the different aspects of a sales funnel. And then she's also going to tell you how she has a gift to you, the listener, to come in and do something special for you. So I'm going to let her tell you all about that. So without any further hesitation, I'm going to bring on Samantha. And you know what, Samantha, I want to make sure I'm not messing up your last name, Burmeister.
Yes, you said it perfectly.
Perfect. How are you?
Great. I'm doing so well today. I'm super jazzed to be here and talk about one of my favorite things, which is copywriting. My other favorite thing would be traveling. So, but maybe we'll touch on both.
I'm trying to think where wine comes in for that on my...
Well,
I don't have any bottles in here. I am really drinking water, which is so good for my body right now.
yes.
Tell us your background, because I skipped that section.
Yeah. So as you had mentioned in the intro, thank you so much for that. I am a nomad and a copywriter. So my background, I would say relatively middle of the road and common story, right? I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Iowa. I went to college. I saw it as my only option. And I'm one of the few people I know that went into college with the same degree that I received. So I got degrees in marketing and international business. And my whole goal was to do business internationally. And I had, at 18, no idea what that meant, as most 18-year-olds don't. So went into the workforce, got a few incredible jobs in sales over the years, and was trained very well in sales. And I hit a point where I was just done hustling for someone else and for someone else's benefit. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So I decided to go it on my own. And at that time, I had been running a travel blog for working women. And when I took a step back and looked at my skills, it was very evident that the things I had chosen to get me to a certain place had really accumulated in a very obvious career choice of doing sales copywriting. So I took some courses in copywriting, was at the time traveling full-time. That was about 3 years ago now, and I continue to travel most of the time. I'm kind of taking the opposite trajectory. You said you're trying to travel more. I'm actually in a stage of life where I'm traveling a little bit less. I'm currently, as evidenced by the wine, close to Napa, California, and I spend about half my time here. So yeah, that's how I got to where I am. I absolutely love copywriting. I love selling. I love traveling. I love hanging out with people, and that's kind of the crux of what we'll talk about today.
Yeah, and when I say I want to travel more, I think I'm really saying that I don't want to be tied to one place. So my definition of travel, which drives some people crazy, is I go and I show up and I live. I exist. I do what the locals do. I don't even go to museums. Like if I go to a museum, it would be a treat. I don't go on all these excursions. I look at what people are wearing. I want to make sure I like wear, I want to blend into the culture. So
Yeah.
that's the way I travel. And so for those people that bring 25 suitcases and they want to have their days busy from 8 to 8, I'm like, maybe I'm going to sleep in today and work from noon to midnight. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
how's the wind blowing today?
Exactly.
I'm
And that's so much of
gonna
what the digital nomad lifestyle is, right? Because if we were to travel like our 2 weeks in Italy vacations that we're used to taking all the time, like that's not a lifestyle. It's not
Yeah.
sustainable. It's tiring. It can be tiring after 2 weeks, nonetheless, trying to keep it up as a full-time gig. So,
Yes. Yes. So now we
yeah.
have that defined. All right. So what we're going to do today. Oh, wait, before we get started, I'm going to move you. Oh, no, you're fine. We do have a presentation that we're going to show you guys. We have people joining us. You guys, please, if you want to chat with us, we use Restream, and you have to let Restream know who you are so that we can address you personally. Go ahead and give us a hello, a shout out in the chat. This show is for you to learn. Samantha's put together this great presentation. We're going to bring it live in just a second. Ask your questions. Right now, we're live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, all kinds of Facebook. I see people looking from different places. Let us know you're there. If we can see, we'll chat with you. If not, we'll go back and we'll answer your questions one-on-one as we see them in the chat. So you're in California.
Yes.
What inspires you daily? Like writing is something, right? So you have to get it, and you have to have that digital that download or whatever it is. What do you do to get into that mode? Do you have a routine, a ritual that you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
I wish I had a ritual. I wish I did. I wish I had the miracle morning atomic habits like down pat. But I wake up, I spend time with my partner. I typically go work out before I start working, and I'll start my workday around 8 or 9 o'clock. Oftentimes, writing is a byproduct of inspiration. So my clients always inspire me. I only work with people who are passionate about what they do. And in the entrepreneurial world, you really have to be passionate about what you do. So I'm very fortunate that I've fallen into the group of service providers that I do write for. They've all been phenomenal. And their passion carries me into writing for them. I've got right now a baller 501c3 nonprofit that I'm writing for, and their mission is, it's awe-inspiring. I've got a spiritually based accountant who is just so fired up about being able to do things differently that like their passion really carries me. And just talking to them like gets me so stoked to write for them and provide what I can to help them succeed.
That's great. That's great. All right. So are you ready to break into your slide deck? And then while you're talking, I will drop in the chat little tidbits and things. And then I'll make sure to do your link as well.
Yeah, please do.
Hopefully everybody can see that. It's so strange to work on this tiny little computer screen when I normally like have 60 inches of screen. So let's get started.
Yeah, so what I'll dig into today is hands-off selling and letting copy do the work for you. So the premise of marketing in today's environment is that, when I went to school for marketing and I graduated about 10 years ago, we were told that a customer needed an average of 7 touches before they purchased. That is not true anymore. I will hear anything from 30 to 60 to more touches before someone purchases from you. So we talk about things like micro conversions, which to avoid jargon just means that think of them as the touches before somebody purchases. That might be ads. This is a touch. Whoever's viewing right now, you'll now have brand recognition of me. You might see my branding elsewhere. It would be on Instagram posts, etc. So much of that is letting copy do that work for you. I also want to make sure that I note before I jump in that copy is not the end all. It is not the magic solution here. And anyone who tells you that anything is the magic solution. It's not, because they all have to work together. So copy works really well with your OBM or your tech VA who's scheduling those emails to go out consistently. Copy works really well with an ads professional, with a designer who's going to help you get that message across consistently. But copy, when done well, drives the consistency in your brand that people look to see over and over. So just as we understand that the purple and green of a FedEx logo means the FedEx logo, even if we can't see it in the distance, copy is going to sound like you over and over. It's going to repeat almost like a mantra what you're about repeatedly. And that's going to help drive those touches. So building off of those premises, we're going to jump into letting copy do the work with the understanding that copy does not work alone. And as Kathy said, jump into the chat and say hello. Tell me who you are and feel free to ask questions. From my perspective, I'm just like you. I am sitting in my living room. I am alone and I don't know who I'm talking to. So for anyone who jumps in.
I see people watching, but nobody's commenting yet. So, okay.
No worries. And just as I said, that this copy is not an end all, I also want to tell you that this is not a sales presentation. I'm going to educate you. I'm going to give you tons of information about what copy is. But if you have further questions and want to connect, grab your phone right now. You can grab with the QR code there. We can connect on Instagram, or you can grab my email address and of course follow up, and I'll be sure to post it again at the end when we're done. So what we're going to cover today is copy, right? How it can help you sell more while being hands-off and drive those really authentic connections to your audience. Because those touches, like we mentioned, have to be strategic. And they're going to tell the story of your brand, but you have to make sure that you do it in a consistent way. So the question becomes, how do you tell your story? And one of the first things to understand when we talk about our story is the difference between copy and content. And there's a little bit of an overlapping Venn diagram here, but copy, we always say, is written for people, whereas content is written for computers. So I'll start by talking about content here really quickly. Content is blog posts. Content is Instagram captions. Content is anything that's written online. However, it's typically written for computers. So it is your hashtags that an algorithm tags and says, oh, somebody needs to know about this. It's often longer form. It's often what's going to help you appear on Google, but that's all through an algorithm. And it often builds on what somebody already knows. So somebody might Google, how do I write blog posts? But they already know that they need a blog post. So when I say that it builds, it means that the computer or the algorithm is going to connect them with that information. However, copy comes in, and copy is a form of content, but copy is a far more specific type of content. Copy is written for people. Copy is written with your brand in mind. It is written with your audience in mind. It's often much shorter and more persuasive. It's not typically filled with keywords, but there is a difference there, and I want everyone to understand that. So copy is typically persuasive. It's written for people, and it's written with the purpose often of selling. So again, if anybody has questions on the difference between the two, feel free to pop those into the chat.
Yeah, there's no questions yet.
Okay, good. I don't see any on the right of my screen, but just in case I'm not looking in the right place, I trust that you'll jump in and let me know. So copy is going to be what sets you apart. Again, it's a very core part of your brand. And oftentimes when we get started in business, we jump into, I need a logo, I need a website. But part of that is the consistency with your written words as well. So when you work with a branding professional, such as a designer or a copywriter, et cetera, they will help you narrow what your brand is and what your brand messaging is. So that you can clearly, through your visuals and through your words, tell people who you are, what you do, and what your special sauce is in the environment. And what I often tell people is that copy is what speaks for you when you're not there. So again, it often shows up in your ad copy. It shows up on your website. It shows up in your emails, in your ongoing emails, because none of us can keep up with following up on every single lead that comes along. So we have to set up those copy automations to continue to touch the people who do continue to come through our funnels. Again, your copy shows up typically, almost always online, especially in today's environment, but it is important to note that like copy is what you see on billboards. Again, very short form, certainly trying to be persuasive, it's speaking to people, not speaking to an algorithm. Copy might show up in the direct mailers in your snail mail box. I almost said inbox because I'm so not used to talking about my mailbox. But really it shows up throughout your entire funnel, and it's going to be speaking to different people along the way. So I'm sure that most people know what a funnel is, but just in case, we're picturing a V-shaped funnel. The top of funnel is the people who have never heard of you, but they could. As they move through your funnel, they've heard of you, they start to know, like, and trust you. And then ultimately at the bottom of the funnel, that's where they start to work with you. They have paid you for something, whether it be one-on-one, whether it be a product. So your copy is going to show up in every stage of your funnel, and it needs to be strategic at every stage in your funnel. I know I sound redundant. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it sometimes moves slow. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love this. Your copy can automate your sales process.
Yes.
Right? We need what we do and what we hire out to work for us in moving people forward. So I love that you put that in here.
100%. So let's walk through an example here, because I'm not going to list off each of these bullet points, but let's go through an example, right? So you search for great Kajabi designers on Google, and all of a sudden you start getting ads when you're logged into Facebook about a great designer. So that ad is going to have that designer's copy. And then you might jump into a free 10 things you need to know before designing your Kajabi website that designer has advertised to you. And then that designer ends up in your inbox. So you've now seen their inbox, you've now seen their ads. You clicked over to probably an Optin page, which is may or may not have also connected to their website. And then they're also in your emails. So each of those is going to speak to you in a consistent voice. And then ultimately those emails are going to welcome you, they're going to nurture you, and then they're going to try to sell to you. And the goal for that designer who has written all of these or had them written is to persuade you ultimately to purchase from them or work with them one-on-one. So that person wrote that copy one time, put all of the systems in place for these things to work, and has now automated their sales process, rather than you coming into their sphere one time, trying to jump on a call with you and do what I call proposing on a first date, which nobody enjoys having that happen. They have to get you to a point where you're ready to purchase and trust them. So definitely your copy will automate your sales process. I'll take a pause there. Kathy, if you have questions, otherwise I will jump into what are the different kinds of copy a little bit more in depth in addition to the ones that I just mentioned.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm all ears.
Okay, great. So when it comes to copy, people will often come to me and say, I need a blank type of page. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes there are better places to put their copy for what they're trying to do. But ultimately, I think a lot of words can be synonymous or accidentally mismatched. So I'm just going to go through real quick and talk about some of the different kinds of copy that people typically need. So the first is your web page. This is the core of your website. The most common, I call them the core four pieces of your website that you'll see are going to be your home page, your about page, your services page, and your contact page. Some people will also have a link over to their blog, but that's not typically copy, that's content, as we mentioned previously. They may have other things, a portfolio page, which is not typically copy, or they might have their specific memberships broken out, things like that. But then those specific memberships would be landing pages, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Web pages, This is a very good example of a crossover between content and copy, because it should be maximized for SEO if you're trying to be searchable on search engines such as Google, Pinterest, etc. But they're still very much copy, and that they are leading people to a specific action. So while you don't have to optimize them for SEO, they, I would say, typically are, especially as a business grows beyond its first, $500,000 to $1 million per year. Then we get into landing pages. Landing pages are also typically very long, but rather than explaining the suite of what a person or a business does, landing page is for one specific product or service. They're typically longer, depending on the value of the product or the complexity of what's being sold. They might be over 2,000 words. Really, what's important is getting the information there and targeting your audience very specifically. So I would, while I did put a word count on here, that is simply for reference and not something that anyone should stick to or go to a copywriter and say, I need this to be 2,000 words. It'll have several calls to action throughout it. But they are all going to be the same call to action. And what I mean by that is they are going to ultimately lead to the same checkout page or purchase now. So there will be several buttons, but they will all be the same.
Everybody needs to hear that loud and clear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We're not taking them all kinds of places on your
Right.
landing page. Join my
We
Facebook
are not
group. Look at this. Go back here. Book a call. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, 100%. So let's use that designer person again. Let's say that they are trying to sell their one-on-one, work with me, I will design your website. Like maybe they will design their landing pages, right? That person should not say, but if this isn't right for you, click here to see my templates so you can do it yourself. Or if you'd rather join my group coaching program, none of that. A landing page has a single call to action. The only exception is if there is a core offer with a VIP upgrade that go well together. That is the only exception. And I just want to be sure that it's heard so loud and clear. There's going to be tons of details on what that product is, images of it. And the goal of a landing page is to convert leads to customers. Is there anything that you would add to landing pages?
Lots of details, images. I would say lots of details and images is okay, but to make sure that they're also relevant to what's being sold. And this is one step back. Whatever button you use to get your person to the landing page, make sure that it's all relevant as well, that it wasn't any type of clickbait or something that was, they clicked on one thing and they went to something else. Make sure that that flows and the headlines and the topics all match.
Yes, 100%. And a great way to do that is to not only look at it yourself, not only have your VA or somebody else who's super in the weeds look at it, but call on your business bestie or someone like me to run through that and make sure that there is congruence, because oftentimes it's what we look at the most that we miss. So that is an excellent point. Yeah. So web and landing pages are some of the copy essentials, but then there are other terms that you'll hear like opt-in pages. An opt-in page is very similar to a landing page. Again, it's going to be having a single call to action, but typically it's a lot shorter, and they're more common for freebie signups or very small ticket items, such as a $27 template or a sign up for a master class, something like that. So typically things that are under $50, where you don't need to tell them a step-by-step of what they're going to be doing in a 12-week program. You just need to tell them what their transformation is going to be. And that's really where this is focused, is when you download this, when you show up for an hour, when you complete something that is not that big of a hurdle, this is what your transformation will be. And that's what an opt-in page is for. Best practices within, go ahead.
Wouldn't you think that a lot of solopreneurs, I mean, we work with solopreneurs, right? With service-based B2B businesses specifically. When you're first starting out, an opt-in page is usually the first thing you build before a landing page, because that's something that people should be doing, and we're going to shit on you, right? Is to start early to build your email addresses.
Yes. Yep. 100%. It's going to be your list builder page. It's also going to be your waitlist page. A waitlist page would be an opt-in page, because typically you're only collecting a name and an email, maybe if it's relevant, an Instagram handle. And then of course, if there is a checkout process, it'll either be embedded on the page or take you to the checkout page. But yes, yeah, excellent point. So often people will build, so these are the first ones that people will come across, but what I see too is that people will build out their full landing page and then grab the most relevant information and make it and duplicate it over to their opt-in page, because then you're not doing twice the work, and you know that your brand voice, again, coming back to that, is going to be consistent throughout every step of the process as you sell to people.
So you do recommend they copy some of it over?
Yeah. Okay. I've had that talk with a few of my clients in the past of, it seems like you just copied and pasted it over. And it's like, well, the brand voice needs to be consistent. People need to know exactly what they're getting. So it's not a bad thing if you do that, or if your copywriter has consistent language throughout, because we want it to be consistent throughout.
For sure.
Yeah. Another term that you'll hear, I hear it less often, but is a squeeze page. And I would almost argue that a squeeze page and an opt-in page are the same thing. Again, it's going to be a very short form version of a landing page. It's going to have the same elements as a landing page, sometimes a little bit more detail. So something I failed to mention on the last slide was you need your title, your subtitle, and your opt-in form are going to be the core of an opt-in page. Some people will argue that a squeeze page is those core things plus the details, whereas an opt-in page would just be those core things. We live in a rapidly transforming world, and the definition of these words is going to change a lot. If you're debating which one to do, just be very clear with your designer, your copywriter, your tech VA, whoever's involved in your sales process, of what you expect to be on the page, and they'll figure it out from there on whether or not they want to call it an opt-in or a squeeze page. But again, we're converting viewers or people who have not yet purchased into qualified leads by gathering their information so that we're able to market to them. Is really, really all that we're doing with the opt-in pages and squeeze pages. And then other types of copy, getting off of the pages, are emails. Emails are my jam, and everyone will tell you, everyone online will tell you, unless they're like an Instagram engagement, like specialist or something. We used to say content is king. And every time your Instagram glitches, every time your Facebook gets funny, remember that content was once king, but we own our email addresses. We own the information that we have asked for and people have given us consensually. So that is, moving forward, the core of what internet marketing really is emails. There's several different types of emails that you can send. Most commonly are going to be nurture sequences and welcome sequences. You can nurture people for a long time and then sell to them and then take them back to being nurtured. Welcome sequences typically just happen once, unless somebody who's already engaged gets on a welcome list for a specific product. Emails, similar to your landing pages and opt-in pages, are always going to have a single CTA or call to action. You'll occasionally see people who have a newsletter style email where there are multiple links in an email, but that's because they're sending them consistently But very much with sales emails, there's always going to be a single CTA, and it's going to be click here to learn more or something like that. And it's going to take you over to your landing page or opt-in page. Emails are beautiful because they do increase the amount of touches that you can have in a sales process, and you can schedule them to happen at the perfect time.
Let's talk for a second about some best practices with nurture sequences. Nurture sequence, how many emails and how frequent?
So I typically recommend that my clients touch their lists once a week. Whether that be a weekly newsletter, there's several people who have kind of a what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, and what I'm doing style email where they will have multiple links out, and it's a great place to include low-key sales opportunities or hints of what you're working on. It's also a great way to share your affiliate links of, what I've been doing. I just joined this networking group. Here's where you can hang out with me outside of this. Or I was recently on this podcast. You can go listen to me. So it is a great way to self-promo in those newsletters, but also to lead people to what you're doing and to create that sense of know, like, and trust. Tell people when you're going through a training. People love to know that their service providers are getting better at what they're doing, or that they care about the same things that they do. If you recently went to a diversity and inclusion training, talk it up, because that's something that a lot of people are struggling with right now, and a lot of people are talking about right now. But I would say at least once a week. I think in those welcome sequences, I recommend every other day, like immediately when somebody gets on your list, and then talk to them every other day for about 2 weeks. So a typical onboarding then in 10 business days of 2 weeks would be about 5 emails. And then sales and launch sequences, that's all over the board, and it's really what you're comfortable with. But I would say at least daily over, a typical launch period would be 2 weeks. A lot of times there will be multiples in a day. If there's a cart closing soon, a 2-hour, a 24-hour, but that's something, again, if anybody wants to jump into the chat or wants to DM me later and just kind of ask about best practices. I know I just threw out a lot of numbers. I'm happy, always happy to talk about it.
Someone has nothing and they're launching a signature program, right? So now they're like, oh my gosh, I have to do 52 weeks of nurturing. I have to do 7 days of welcome. And now I have to do, 14 days of, that's a lot. Right?
Yeah. It is. But it's important, it's where you're going to stay in front of your people. And again, there's also complementing that with a similar message over on social of, if you share that, I'm in this new networking group, and then you're sharing on your list about your new networking group, you can always recycle the content. And the beautiful thing about sales and launch and welcome sequences is you really only have to write them once, and then make a good habit of refining them every few months.
True.
Is always a good idea, or have them audited, or, have somebody jump in and look at them. But it's a lot, and that's why a lot of people outsource it.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But no, that's a great question. And it's one of those things, like so many things, where it depends is the answer. And if you ask a million different copywriters, they're going to tell you a million different things. So you really have to lean into, first, what is right for you. Second, what is right for your clients. And, find the balance there, and be willing to change your strategy as you go on, because it does have to be strategic.
Mm-hmm. And it needs to be done.
Let me tell you,
for the sales and launch sequence, or even the welcome. What's that onboarding process going to look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And once it's done too, so let's say that you have one freebie, you're stoked about it, but a few months later you realize it's not performing as well as it used to be. You go in and refine your sequence, but you also duplicate it and create a different freebie. But the hi, I'm Sam, I'm a copywriter, like intro to who you are email is going to be about the same, unless you're speaking to a totally different audience. So you can replicate it for different freebies as well.
Okay.
And again, I would argue that you should, because you want your branding to be consistent across your platforms. So
For sure.
real quick, I'll touch on these other forms of copy, ads. The ads are ever changing. And if your ads are suddenly not performing, go talk to an ad strategist, go talk to a copywriter. But there's so much going on with pixels and tracking and different things right now that I am not going to take the time to cover it here, because that's a whole other conversation. And then thank you pages. Thank you pages are the land of opportunity in copy. When someone signs up for your 3-day conference, ask them if they also want to buy a t-shirt on the thank you page. Tell them it's what the cool kids are doing. Thank you pages are your place to upsell. They're also the place to engage. So that's your opportunity to get people into your Facebook group, get people to email you and tell you what they're most excited about. They have already committed to working with you in some capacity. So after they have paid you, when you get to that thank you page after your checkout page, use it and use it well. It's always great to see something that's cute and polite and says, thanks for being here. We're stoked to work with you. But if you have an opportunity to keep them engaged in a different way, whether it's monetary or not, do it. And that's my spiel on thank you pages.
And also, thank you pages are good for surveys, right? You can have a survey link. Take this survey and let me know. And then in the survey, you can ask them, you can get more data and more, what were you going through before you, just a few questions. What was the trigger to make you buy this? You know, how can we best support you? Like more market research.
Let the people tell you what they want. Yeah, it's an excellent opportunity. And I think it's one of the most overlooked opportunities. So highly recommend leaning into thank you pages. Again, ads. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of other forms of copy. Of course, I mentioned like print ads and stuff. That's not my specialty, but it is a form of copy. And if your industry allows for it, I recommend it. Even if you're an online service provider, if you're going to conferences, think about print ads.
Lots.
Yeah. Great. So then talking about, should you do it yourself, hire it out, or do something in between? And again, I will reiterate that this is what I do. This is not a sales presentation. So while my information is available on these coming pages, work with whoever you're most comfortable with, because copywriters are not one size fits all. And I'm very willing to have a conversation with anybody who wants to, but there is no surprise at the end, I am selling. So put that out there to those who are watching. This is not the part where you all of a sudden realize that you're going to sign off 20 minutes early, because I've still got information in here for you. So there are benefits to all of them. And when we fall back and remember what our brands can do for us, we also have to reflect on, but can I do that justice? So for myself, I would say, obviously, I wrote my own copy, but I did not do my own design because, and if you hear something, we've got a dog. She's fine.
Wait, I have to show you mine. This is how exciting my dog is. Can you see her? She's like curled up in a, maybe you can't see her. She's curled up in a ball, taking up the whole chair.
Yeah. I wish this one was, and I think I'm dog sitting and her parents are typically out of the house during the day. So I think that she's like, someone's home, that means it's playtime. And I don't know how to communicate that. But yeah, so should you do it yourself? You certainly can. I have never worked with somebody who does not know how to write. I have never met somebody who does not know what they do. But if you can do it yourself and set yourself apart from the competition and build that know, love, and trust factor, and you have the time and energy to write your copy, like, great, by all means do it. If you're having troubles getting started, that's where I recommend like grab a template from someone. But if you don't have the time, if you don't have the energy, if you don't have the expertise, if your copy isn't converting, if you don't feel like it's consistent across all of your platforms, including, you know, when somebody goes from your landing page to your emails, are they getting the same message? Then I think there's a lot of opportunity in that. So as I say, you only get one first impression. So here's the opportunities, right? Is do it yourself. There are tons of guides out there. There are tons of templates out there, and there's tons of opportunity to observe others. One of my best kept secrets when I'm doing it myself with copy is I'm on a ton of mailing lists. And I have in my folder, instead of like checking it out, deleting it, whatever, in my folder, I have a swipe file. So when I see a subject line that I love, I put it in my swipe file. If I open an email and I'm like, dang, that's great. I bet next time I write for a lawyer, I could do something similar with this. I put it in my swipe file because I'm not going to remember it later, but I can call on it. Do not plagiarize. We don't do that here, but we do look to others for inspiration.
Sure.
And that's important.
And wait, I want to, you guys, there's nothing magic about a swipe file. It just means you took it and you put it in a file.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have a Google Drive and I title so that I can see, I copy and paste a lot of what I see into Google Doc. And I just title it swipe file, landing page content, selling whatever it was selling. Like I have this nomenclature that I've designed.
Yep.
Or I use Evernote and I save it by category and tag it there. So there's lots of different ways you can create swipe files. I was even a nerd where my emails were up to like 25,000 emails and I needed to delete them. But I really wanted the headline or the subject lines. So I just copied all these subject lines and who they were from and put those in a giant Excel spreadsheet. And then I was like, okay, I can delete these all now.
Totally. And yeah, I think in British English, swipe means to steal, and that's not it. It could just as well be titled good emails. I also have a good emails. Yeah, I have a good emails or a good websites folder in my bookmarks bar because I'm like, oh, well, like this headline is stunning, or this design I'll have to pass on to a designer, or like, oh, I would love to model something after this layout for the next coach I work with. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing it yourself. If you do it yourself, I recommend taking a step back before you start writing and looking at your messaging strategy and making sure that if you know what your brand voice is, if you know what your goals are, outline things before you do it so that you ensure that as you get more tired as you write your emails don't get slow if your brand voice is going to be spicy and energetic and whatever. So again, the other thing to mention here is team members. A lot of people will say, oh, I'll have my VA write my emails. I just need you to do my landing page. You can do that. Your VA knows how to write. Just so do you. Your VA, if you want to pay your VA, $30 an hour to write, that's certainly your prerogative. But unless they have copywriting experience, even if you send them on their way with a template, they might be 2 steps ahead of where they are now. But if you're going to invest in someone else's time, make sure that it's worth it. Make sure that they have sales experience, copy experience, that they know your business inside and out, that they know what the goals of the copy are, etc. So that is I love VAs. I have one. She's incredible. She's not a designer. She's not a strategist. But she's really freaking good at what she does, and I let her sit in her zone of genius and hire people that can represent themselves in there. So.
Yeah, and I'll just do a shout out to my VA. I'm so busy and swimming in things right now that if I didn't have her writing things for me, it flat out wouldn't get done. So in some instances, I adapt to done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Because if you're waiting for perfection, you won't get it done. If you need have your VA write something for you because A, you don't have the funds, or B, you need something out immediately. Remember to stick to the mantra of done is better than perfect.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I have a slide where I will be very transparent about the prices that are included in copywriting. If you don't have the cash flow, I'm not going to pressure you to work with me or with anyone else. But if you can anticipate, if you have a vetted product and you can anticipate that it's going to earn you a certain amount and you're comfortable investing in a copywriter for your launch, for your website, et cetera, then do it. But if you still need to vet it out, then maybe putting it in your words or in your VA's words is the best place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can
I will always say that and never encourage anyone to overextend themselves, especially financially. So done for you then would be hiring a copywriter. So this is on the opposite end of the spectrum. I love being referred to people to the point that I don't run Facebook ads. I do not, I mean, I have social media, but I do not really advertise myself. So I recommend, if you have a friend or a coach or a whoever who has a great website, ask them who wrote it and ask for that referral and that recommendation. If you don't get a recommendation, and somebody reaches out on, say a Facebook post or in a networking group and says, hi, I'm a copywriter, ask to see examples of their work. Unfortunately, the online business space is unregulated and people can fudge their testimonials. So I would just ask to see where they have worked, like who they have worked for, see examples. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you're going to put that much money into working with someone, you have every right to ask and you have every right to see that. Mm-hmm. And again, do you have the funds? Do you have the skills? And is warning, I think I probably copied and pasted this over team members, but warning, do they have the credentials? For myself, I worked in corporate sales for 10 years. I can show you certificates from online copywriting programs. I can show you dozens of landing pages and emails and things that I've written in the past. So that's an example for myself, but always just see those receipts, as they say. And then what falls in the middle of that is using your resources. So it's intern season, y'all. Like, they are less expensive, albeit less experienced, but Gen Z has a pulse on the internet like nobody else does. And where I came up, where in school, and I graduated in 2014, we were not taught anything about online business. And I think a lot of people are graduating and moving straight into online business because they see the potential. And they know how to talk to people online, and it's all second nature to them. So while they may be less experienced, they may be very helpful to you and to your process. Of course, your VA, asking your designer. Designers work with copywriters every single day. Ask your designer who they've worked with. Download a template. And then, again, just really gut checking. Like, if you can afford a copywriter and a designer, absolutely outsource it. If you can't, find a way to make something work for you on the in-between. And then, of course, the question becomes, do you have the money to spend? And I'm very comfortable showing the next slide on how much somebody can anticipate spending on a copywriter.
Yep. No sticker shock, you guys.
Yeah, no sticker shock.
If I was going to write copy for you, if I was a conversion copywriter, I'm bringing my 30 years of experience in selling so many millions of dollars, I can't even tell you, right? Mm-hmm. So that versus someone that's maybe 20 and just took a course, you need to understand where that experience is coming from.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And even like, I'll say that I have years of very high-end corporate sales experience. I was selling products straight into the executive suite of companies that we have all heard of. And so there was some very formal sales training. throw it out the window when it comes to online sales because we've got algorithms to work with. So I have a ton of experience, but it's complemented, right? So it's again finding somebody that has the amount and caliber of experience that you're comfortable with working with too. And like, making sure the vibe is right. So real talk, here's what copy costs. Oftentimes we'll see templates online for $27 to $57 for single pages. So I would call that like an opt-in page, or this is what your about page should look like. When we get to a full landing page or even a full website to download that group of templates, we're going to see it, I would say, between $200 and $300. I've certainly seen it for more. If you're going to work with a copywriter directly, you can anticipate spending $200 or more per email. So remember when we said like a nurture sequence or a welcome sequence is going to have at least 5 emails. You can anticipate that sequence will cost about $1,000. And then that a launch sequence, as that would go out for 2 weeks at least, would probably come out to about $2,000. It would start at $2,000. Landing pages typically cost $2,000 and up. Again, I see more experienced copywriters costing a lot more, and it also depends on your industry. If you're writing for companies that we know, I don't know, like Warner Brothers, or if Ancestry comes out with a new feature and they need a landing page for it, they're going to end up spending a lot more, but they're also working with people who have probably like niched far down into that industry. Mm-hmm. Websites, we talked about the core 4, the home, about, services, and contact page are going to start at about $3,000. And then if you find a copywriter who's willing to bill by the hour, a copywriter is going to cost between $45 and $60 an hour. And that number isn't higher because most copywriters, myself included, will stop offering hourly and just do things by the project so that they can focus exclusively on you and not fill their calendar with a bunch of other people and spreading their time out in that way.
And I've seen these prices consistently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, this is like probably the most common in the online business space. So if you, like I said, get into something that's niche, a little bit further out, it's probably going to cost more. Just based on the industry experience. But real talk, like when we see somebody, so say somebody lands on your landing page and it doesn't resonate with them, they're going to bounce. You're going to see huge bounce rates. You're going to see unsubscribe rates in your emails when they get your freebie and suddenly somebody's not speaking well to them. They're going to unsubscribe, and that's going to decrease the size of your pool that you can sell to later. So investing the time and funds into your copy up front is going to earn you a lot more in the long run. Just make sure that you're ready and able to make the investment.
Yes. Okay, you guys, you're so quiet today. There's people watching. Yeah. We're waiting for any comments that you might have.
Yeah, not a whole lot. Nothing that I can see in the chat. So. Right. I'll go ahead and pull up. You had mentioned there's a little gift here at the end. I am offering an opt-in and email audit for free. So what that means is you grab the link that's there, but you can also scan the QR code. Again, it's an opt-in page, right? It'll take you to an opt-in page. You'll enter your name, email, and the link to your opt-in page. And I will look at that opt-in and I will follow your emails for a week, and I will send you an audit of all of them for free, telling you where the quick wins are so that you can, again, increase your sales rate, decrease your unsubscribe rate, and make sure that you have a consistent pool of people to sell to in the future. So that is there. I can also pull up my Instagram and contact info again one more time, but that's there for everyone. I'm super excited about it. I'm really happy to be able to offer these for free. So definitely jump in and grab those.
Yeah, let me just type it in here.
Yeah.
Nomad Copy Agency.com. I hope I did it right.
Let's make
Look
sure.
right?
Check. It looks correct, but I'm going to click on it just to make sure that it goes. I don't know why it's not clicking for me. It looks correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have an opt-in, it's wise to have it audited, even if a copywriter did it, because you never know if your links accidentally broke when active campaign updated or something. Like, it's just one of those, there's no risk in doing this. See where you can upgrade your copy. Also, if you want to audit your own copy, go ahead and look at your welcome sequence in your email provider and look at your open rates. And the ones with the lowest open rates probably need their subject lines changed. That is an easy win.
Good place to start, right?
Mm-hmm. That's an easy win. Or look at where which email has the highest unsubscribe rate and dig into it and figure out why. Like I said, it's a good place to start. But yeah, with that, I am open to questions. I know we've been quiet, so if there aren't any, that's fine. If your question is better asked privately, I'm on Instagram at nomad.copy, and I'm happy to answer anything over there in the DMs.
Yeah, well, there aren't any questions. I asked them as we went along. I wanted people to be educated because I think one of the barriers of hiring a copywriter would be that they don't understand the difference between copy and content.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't understand the value of making copy work for you. One of the things I always say is, right, the reason when you get somebody on the phone call, by the time you get them on the phone call, the conversation goes from proving your worth to owning it if you have the right copy. So then when you get them on the call, it's, do you want A or do you want B? Are you going to pay in full or do you want the payment plan? It's not proving your worth on the phone call. So really good copy will help you get there. Having a full marketing strategy, the content strategy, everything consistent in the voice, then people don't say, what is it that you really do?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
All good stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, so the title of this presentation was hands-off selling, let copy do the work. And there's no such thing as totally hands-off selling, but when copy can especially sell, automate your sales, get people either onto your calendar, into your funnel, purchasing your low ticket items that you don't necessarily need a phone call to sell.
Can you define what you would think is a low ticket item? Like up until what amount? I was just having this conversation.
Yeah. So when I think about funnels too, and like funnel emails, I always think that your freebie sells to a low ticket item or a phone call. And then that low ticket item puts them into a funnel or another sequence for their leading towards higher ticket items. So I think there's scales. I would call low ticket under 100. I would call, but I mean, even that's not necessarily true. I just got on a mailing list a couple weeks ago because I wanted a pair of jeans that was $150. And then after getting 77 emails from them, bought the jeans. So, so even that would be low ticket. I would say, potentially anything under 300 or 400. I wouldn't necessarily get on a call to sell something that was less than 1,000. Mm-hmm. So then that kind of leaves some gray area in there, but I think 100 different people would tell you 100 different things. Once again,
well, with one of my clients, we were having this conversation, and she was doing a webinar, and I think her course was $47 or something, and I'm like, no, wait, we need to do the webinar and get people on the phone. But we need to let copy work for you and build a funnel to get them to buy the course. Then the phone call could be her higher ticket offer, which was you get one-on-one consulting with me to go with the course. Okay, now we're talking about something that's worth your time to get them on the phone. So those are different strategies that you
or I've seen it where they can do the $47 course, but so the email got them to the checkout page for the $47 course, or checkout page, opt-in page to checkout page. And then the checkout page says, But do you want the extra event beforehand for $200? This is going to be the best networking of your life. And then it upsells for them, which again is an example of copy selling for them and upselling for them, possibly into a slightly higher ticket. So yeah,
Don't get
there's lots of,
you guys.
I know. There's just, think of it as like
can talk you through it. Yes.
Right?
On my team, we have designers that can help you with the landing page graphic design. Samantha can help you with the content. I can help you as well with the strategy. You got a team here. Yes. Don't worry. Yeah. We're not giving you all this information to make you feel overwhelmed. So we're going to wrap the show today. Thank you so much, Samantha, for coming on. I hope you guys take advantage of that content opt-in. I know I'll take advantage of it. Good. And I want to let you, we do have a show next week on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time with Jess Tiffany. So we haven't written any of the content yet for the show, but Jess will be here 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. I'm currently in Central time. I hope I don't get any of those things messed up. But thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. If for any reason, especially those of you in the Facebook group, The Modern Sales Professional, if you would like a workshop, we can have Samantha back where she can talk to you about, okay, you want a DIY, but let's talk about the bones that need to be on some of these things. I am sure Samantha would come back and help you with that. Or we could even do some hot seat coaching where she takes apart one of your landing pages and does some on-site coaching. So we can do all of that in the Modern Sales Professionals Facebook group. If you guys haven't joined, please do. Samantha's in there as well in that group. And so we don't sell in that group. All we do is educate, bring people in. It's all about everyone helping everybody to become a better version of themselves and to make more money. That's what we want to do. All right, you guys, thanks so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the stream and we will see you